Hello everyone, welcome to part 6 of this tutorial series whereby we are looking at Laravel, Inertia Vue, Crud. And in our previous tutorial we were able to have the functionality of deleting the client. In this tutorial I would like us to work on this button such that we can be able, when we click on this button, we can be able to edit user, in this case a customer, in this customers table that we have. So let us get right into it. Before we begin, I would like to just ask that if you have not subscribed, that you kindly subscribe, because it means a lot to me. Now let us go ahead and work it out. So the first thing that I would like us to do, we will go to our resources JS pages folder, and I want us to create another page here which we are going to call edit. So we are going to have a file, we are going to call it edit .vue, and in this case these pages can be in a folder, but since it's the only thing that I'm doing, I do not have any clutter in here. So the first thing that we are going to do is to have a script setup. And then template. Like that. We will use some of the data that we already have, and it seems we are having a challenge because it's nothing in our script. I guess it may be because of the empty space, but let us just continue working with it. Now the next thing that I'm going to do, because this video has been done sequentially, there's some work that we did in our create.vue, so I would like to change something there. But of course here I need a close script tag. I guess is the reason why we're having an error. So I would like us to just go to create.vue, and I want us to copy everything that we have inside here. So let me just show you what we had in the previous, sort of like our second tutorial. We created this form and we were able to put some functionality, as you can see, for the inputs, then for the name and the errors and all that. So I would like to just copy everything here the way it is exactly, and we're going to have it in our edit.blade. So everything like that, how you copy, that is what we are going to paste here. But remember, for create and edit, you can also be able to work and use a model such that you will not be going to several pages for you to be able to have the functionality. But in this case, for this specific tutorial, we will not be doing that. We will just be doing what we have been doing since the start. So obviously we have things here, and I would like to do some setup here and in our script tag. And the first thing I would like us to import is a use form, because we are going to submit a form, and we will be able to use this helper, use form helper, and it's a helper function from Inertia. So from at Inertia Js for Vue 3, like that. So depending with whether you are working on Vue 3 or Vue 2, you will be able to choose accordingly. Now the next thing that I would like us to do, we are going to set props here. And the first thing, of course, that the props that are rendered by default, we have the errors. So in this case, for the errors, we can just define the props like this: const props is equals to define props, and inside here we will be able to pass in our props. And the first prop that we pass in is the errors. And in this case, these are errors that come from the Laravel side. So any errors that we have, I would like us to be able to capture those ones like that. So let that one remain like that. The next thing that I would like us to do is to also have the form in this case, because as you can see, we are making reference to, when you look at our models, we are making reference to a form. In this case, we do not have it, so let us go also right ahead and have that one. So again, inside script, I will also have a form. So you say constant form, and in this case, we are going to use the form helper, which is provided to us by Inertia. And then inside here, of course, we will set it up the way we set it up initially. So we can say we have name set to null, but I will change this once we have some data from the backend. Then we have email, we will also set it to null. Then we will have the phone, also set it to null like that. I would like us to go to the controller and be able to do a few things. In other words, see how we can be able to load this edit file. We can just be able to do it from the front end if, let me say, we are doing it using a model, but let us just go and load it from the controller. It's also a possibility. So I want to open the controller, and inside here I want us to have a method that will be returning our, in this case, our edit function, I mean our edit data. So in this case, we are going to have public function edit, and inside here, when a user clicks a specific row, for example this edit row, button here, I would want us to pick the ID of this user. So that is, and then after that we pass in the ID through our routes and then to the controller, and then we'll be able to render, or in other words, return the view with a page with the data. So we will be hitting this endpoint in a short while. So let us go ahead and be able to do something on our index file, so where we have the button. So I will just like to go to index.vue, and here I want us to have a button. In the button that we have, whereby we are having edit, I want us to have to handle an event when clicked. I want us to do something. So we can say at click dot prevent, and then I would like us to have a method called edit, and then we can be able to pass in customer dot ID like that. So that is how we are going to have it. You pass in the customer ID, and then I would want, still in the index method, yet in the index page, to also have a method that loads the ID. So in this case, I would like us to just have a function here, and we are going to have call it edit the same way we have it there, and we are passing in the ID. And inside here, the first thing I would just like us to do is just to alert the ID and see if it is actually working. So I know this page is reloaded automatically, but let me just attempt to do it one more time. And then now when I attempt to click edit, you can see it's giving us an ID of 1. When I also click this other button here, it's giving us an ID of 2. And that is actually what is happening here. So the next thing that I would like us to do is to be able to make a request, in this case that you be able to load for us the page. So I'm going to just say router.get, and in this case we will have to also import router. So we are hitting the endpoint, which is customers, and then we are passing in the ID. So we can say concatenate it there, and then also we are having edit like that. I'm just trying to maintain the Laravel convention just for purposes of doing it. I do not know if it can be any meaningful. So this is the route that we are going to hit, in other words the endpoint. And of course we have to, yes, router is already imported, so I think we're just fine. Now I will go to our controller, to our web.php, and I want us to do something on the method that will be able to enable us to edit a customer. So in this case we will have a method here. So we're going to have route get, it's just a get route, and here we are passing in customers, and then the ID. So in this case we can have the ID here, and then edit like that. And of course every other thing that we have from here, I can just copy what we have even in this create method and paste it here. So I copy everything, put a comma and paste, and then I will remember to close with a semicolon, and then here the method is edit. So we are going to have it like that. So in this case, if I go back and click here, because there's nothing that we have done in our edit method, maybe let me just go to customer controller and be able maybe to return something. Return 1. Of course it's not supposed to be done like this in the inertia way, but it will just help us to see something. So when I click it, as you can see, we have 1, so meaning everything is perfect up until that point. Now I would like us to pass in our ID. So here we are going to pass our ID, and then so it will be variable ID, not just like that, it will be variable ID. And then I want us to see if we can be able to return the ID, the variable ID. So let us go ahead and do that. So we refresh and click here again, and you can see we are still returning an ID of 1. And maybe if we click on the second user, we are now returning an ID of 2, and that is okay. We can be able to use the ID to find the user. So we are going to just say maybe we can put it like this: customer is equals to the model customer, find. In this case, we will pass in our ID. And this one you'll be able to get for us the customer details. I can even say return here such that we see what is going to happen. When I click edit, again now you can see it's giving us the details. But there is a shorter way in which we can be able to do this. We can go to our web.php, and instead of passing ID, we can do route model binding such that we can just pass customer like that instead of passing ID. And then once we pass customer, even here we will just pass customer, the model, and then the variable customer. And if we are able to do this, we don't need to do customer find by ID. We can remove this and just say return customer like that. And this one is also going to do the same thing, I believe. Yes, you can see still we have the same information. So this is a shorter way of sort of like doing it. And then now we will now render the edit view, and then we are going to pass in the data that we have here. So I'm going to just say return inertia render, and then inside here we are going to mention the file, or in other words the page that we want to return. In this case it's just edit, and it's not in a folder, so we just say edit, and then from there we can be able to also pass in an array of values. So in this case I can just be able to say customer to represent everything that is stored in this variable as we have checked, like that. So yes, it's not supposed to be a full colon. Yes, and then after that that is what we are going to have here, and this effectively will be able to load our edit page. So in this case, let me just refresh and we attempt. So I will refresh. I want us to click on edit, and you can see we have our file, and maybe up here I have called it featured. Let me just go and change it here and say edit customer. This one here, such that we are able to just differentiate. Yes, yes, here can have edit customer like that. And I also believe in create.vue I also did not change that it's still featured, because it is where I have copied it from. Here we can have it as create customer like that. And then now, so we have our edit customer page and it is loaded, but I want us to populate these inputs with information that we are getting from the database. So what we are going to do, as you can see from our controller, let me go back to the edit customer. From our controller we are returning customer variable with an array of values. So here also, on top of the errors object, I also want to pass in customer object like that, because that is what we are receiving from our Laravel site. And now I want for us to be able to display this the value of this specific customer from the database. We are going to do something such that we can be able to have them here, and what we are going to do, we are going to include them here. And so the way we are going to do it, we are going to say props dot customer dot name, and this we will include for us the name of the customer. So in this case, as you can see in our form, we have James Doe. And then for the email, we are going to include it. We remove the null and we include it as follows: props dot customer dot email. And then finally for the phone, we will have props dot customer dot phone, like that. And now everything is populated in our table. So in this case, if we allow, if we now decide and say that the name is James somebody else, maybe James Jose, like this, we can be able to edit it and then send the request to the database. What I have not done, I have not created a way in which we are going to submit this form. So that is what I would like to do now. So we are going to submit the form to the Laravel backend, whereby we will be able to save it, and then after we save it, we can be able to have finished the scope of this tutorial. So what I'm going to do, we can see we have submit here, and as we work on submit, I want us to just pass the customer ID here in the submit function in our form. And then once we have done that, then we can be able to have a method that will be called submit, the same way as this, such that when we click that button for sending the form, we are going to submit to this function. So function submit, and inside here we are going to have ID again, and then we will now be able to send our form to the backend, and we are going to use the router. And in this case, I have not imported it, so let us import it here. So import router from Inertia Js Vue 3. So the same thing. So I'll just copy this, just come and paste it here, like that. So we can be able to use it, and we are going to use the put method. And put actually gives us ability, we can be able to change the entire record. In this case, if we are updating records in the database, it allows us to change everything with fresh data. But if you use patch, then you can be able to change just maybe sometimes in applications, a user can be allowed to change only the email in the user table. So if it's only one thing that is being changed, you can use patch. But this one we are going to use put, and then the route that we are going to go to or send our request to is customers, and then we are going to have the customer ID. So in this case, you close that one and then concatenate the ID like that, and then we are also going to send the form. So those are the things that we are going to send to the backend. And then I would like to create this route because we do not have it. So we will go to web.php, and then inside here I would like us to create a new route which we are going to call put. I do not know why I'm having issues. Yes, this is where we are going to create a new route which we are going to call put. So route put, and then customers, and then we are going to have / and then pass in the ID, or conversely we can just pass in the customer if we are using root model binding. And then of course we will continue and have and maybe mention our controller. So we are going to have a comma, and then customer controller, class, and then a comma, and then the method. So in this case our method is update, like that, and save. And the other thing that is there is that we have not created this method, so let me create it here after edit, maybe public function update, and inside here we are going to do several things because it's something that you're passing from request. So we are going to have request, and then also we are also going to pass in the customer using route model binding customer, and then the variable customer, like that. After that, I want us to go ahead now and save this customer. So what we are going, update the customer in this case. And I would like to also just do some validation such that we do not have a scenario where a record is being deleted by a user just like that. So I would like to do some validation. In this case, I do not require the users to be unique. It's not a must for the users to be unique, and also the customers in this case. And then after that, we are now going to save. We are going to save this customer, so we will have customer update. Then we will just pass in validated. As you can see, we are storing in a variable called validated the records that are coming in, so I will just pass in validated here. And then after that we can be able to redirect. So we just redirect to customers.index. I will just copy this one that we have here. Sorry, we copy it. Yes, what we have there, and I will paste here like that. And I believe if everything is fine, this will be able to update our records. So let me attempt and just change some things here. So James Jose, something of that sort. The email maybe jose@example.com, and then this number here, let me change some digits and just have it ending with 5s. So when I submit, as you can see, we are having the name changed, and when I attempt to edit again, as you can see, now everything is exactly the way we put it. So I think it's a successful tutorial video up until here. I thank you for following, and I ask that if you have not subscribed, that you kindly subscribe. And we will continue with this tutorial series. I'm not yet done, so keep on following, but also ensure that you follow them sequentially, because there are things that maybe I might forget to repeat, and yet they were in previous videos. Thank you very much for following this tutorial video up until this point.